Hello and welcome to The Property Perspective. I'm Josh.
And I'm Michelle. Recently, the Negotiator, an industry news outlet, published an eye-opening article titled "County Court Evictions Are Now Costing Landlords £12,000 on Average." Today we want to dig into those figures, explore what's really happening in the courts, what it means for landlords and what you can do to protect your investments. So, according to the Negotiator, eviction costs in county courts are averaging £12,000 for landlords. This is a shocking sum and a strong signal that court processes are becoming very expensive and also rather inefficient.
So it does note that in London and some regions, costs and delays are even higher. The report links these to rising costs, to growing backlogs, slow enforcement and longer waiting times, especially in the final stages.
These costs, though, aren't just court fees and legal bills. Landlords are losing months of rent, facing maintenance, insurance and financing costs whilst the home sits empty. In some sectors, the average eviction waiting time for a county court bailiff, say in London, is 8 months, sometimes even longer.
That's it. Notably, the bottleneck at the warrant to repossession stage really is where most of the delay is happening, as we discussed in our previous episode about court times. Earlier phases, claim to order to warrant, are relatively stable, but once it's time for a bailiff to enforce the order, landlords are waiting over 30 weeks or more in many cases.
And this pressure is getting so bad that industry groups are calling for more evictions to be handled via the High Court, therefore bypassing and overloading the county courts. The Negotiator also covered that shift, reporting that a coalition is urging landlords to fast-track evictions by transferring the possession to the High Courts.
That's it, but of course, moving to the High Court enforcement has its own costs and its own challenges. It's not this silver bullet, and judges still have to approve the transfers.
Of course they do. So for many landlords, an eviction was already a last resort. Now it's a financial gamble. When you factor in lost rent, legal costs, maintenance during the vacancy, and the emotional burden, the true cost often exceeds that headline of £12,000.
That's it. What's more alarming is that delays may worsen under the forthcoming Renters' Rights, Renters' Reform Bill, especially once the Section 21 no-fault evictions are abolished, where you don't always need a hearing. Every eviction will need to go through the courts, and that's exactly where the system is already struggling.
Sounds so depressing, this episode, because we also need to consider unfair practices creeping in. There's recent reporting that some county court bailiffs have been told they can't use reasonable force to affect tenants, making enforcement even slower and even more complicated.
That's it. So get away from the doom and gloom. How can you actually protect yourself? There are some proactive steps. Prevention over eviction, it's much better. Rigorous tenant referencing at the start. Clear communication and of course early intervention. When rent is late, have a communication, have a chat. We've discussed this previously. Inspections and keeping properties well maintained is also going to help with those problems. You need to build yourself a buffer. Expect that if the worst comes to worst, the process will take months. Budget is not just for legal costs, but months of lost rent and your associated expenses. Use the High Court route when it makes sense to do so. If your case qualifies and transfer is permitted, it can reduce enforcement delays significantly, but you need good legal advice. If you get that good legal and procedural advice right from the start, you can avoid incorrectly served notices, missing documents, or just little legal errors that can really derail a case depending on what judge you have. Document everything. Keep once and mid-term inspection records, correspondence, financials, and any evidence that you might need in court. It can always help your case.
Definitely. So here at JDG, we assist landlords with all of these steps. We also keep tracks of the evolving laws and assist with court liaison. It's the kind of support that can make all the difference when time, money, stress are literally all on the line.
The message from the Negotiator is clear, and from us. Evictions are costing landlords more than ever. It's no longer just about getting the property back. It's about safeguarding your investment and proper risk management.
So if you're a landlord who's ever considered evictions, now is the time to be prepared. Let's make sure your process is tight and your documentation is strong, and of course that you have a realistic financial buffer.
Thanks for watching The Property Perspective, and if you'd like to discuss how these trends may affect your portfolio or whether High Court enforcement might be worth considering, let's talk. You can give us a call on 01524 84 3322.
Thanks for watching.